Hey, what's up, everybody? Championship Leadership Podcast here, and um, just like not holding anything back here. We take number 2. We tried this one time and had a few technical difficulties, but I have Jose Flores. He was nice enough to run this again. He's an international motivational speaker and author, and a global mindset disruptor. So appreciate you coming back on and taking some more time out of your busy schedule to be here, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me, brother. You know me, I won't stop until I win. So I know we had to get this thing done.
Absolutely, man. And I appreciate it. So the first question, championship leadership, like, what does that mean to you? What do you think of when you hear that?
Man, when I hear championship leadership, that just means to me that in order for you to be a champion, you got to be a good leader, man. And whether you're leading yourself, your family, your team, at the end of the day, if you want to be a champion and you want to win, you got to lead, man. And we got to lead by example. So that means that everybody's watching us, and we got to make sure that we're doing the right thing so that they can follow our lead and we can all become champions.
That's so true. What you just said, like, everyone's watching, right? We're always communicating the message, whether we're saying anything or not, like, especially for our kids, right? They're always watching. They're watching what we're doing more than what we're saying. So true, right?
That's right, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about you. Like, how did you become the international motivational author and global mindset disruptor, right? We're not born that way. I remember at an early age, like, motivational speakers, people coming through telling their stories, and I just thought it was so amazing. But I just, like, I never knew, how do you get on that path, right? There's not a blueprint out there to tell you, like, how that happens. So yeah, tell us a little bit about how you got from where you were to where you are today.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Because I definitely wasn't born like that. I tell you,
Yeah.
I tell you that, man. I was actually born with quite the opposite. You know, I was born with a neuromuscular condition called spinal muscular atrophy. And for those of you that are listening, it's in the muscular dystrophy family. And what that basically does is the older I get, the weaker my muscles get. And so when I was younger, I had a phenomenal childhood. I was able to walk and run and play and do all the things that normal, healthy young boys do. But as I got older, my muscles started to get weaker. And it wasn't until I got into high school that things really started to take its toll on me. So before that, I was great. I knew I had this condition because I got diagnosed when I was 3 years old. I had this little limp when I was walking, and my mom and everybody was like, "Oh, look at him. He looks so cute. He walks like a little tough guy." But then they noticed that the limp wasn't going away. So my mom took me to the doctors, and they did a muscle biopsy and diagnosed me with this condition. And they were saying that I'd be in a wheelchair by the age of 15, and they weren't even expecting me to live past my teenage years, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't know that until later on when my mom told me, right? And but I'm excited because I have great news this year. Back in February on the 25th, I celebrated my 42nd birthday.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
Yeah, man, I'm still here kicking life's butt, man. The doctors had one plan, but my main doctor had another plan. And I'm still here rocking and rolling. But, when I got to high school, that's when I really started to feel the shift. It started to become more difficult for me to go up and down the stairs, sit and stand and, bend over, pick things up from the floor, just little things like that. A lot of things that most people take for granted started to become very difficult for me. And so the reason I coined myself the mindset disruptor is because, in my 42 years of living and being on this earth, as this condition took its toll on my body, every time I went through a new phase of decreased mobility, it required me to learn how to adapt and adjust to that new level or to that next level. And I was always having to adapt and adjust. And again, I always say this, not because it was by choice, but because I was forced to, right? Because it was either you adjust and you live your life as you have to live it right now, or you just conform, you settle, and you just become a loser and let this condition take over your body and you die, and that's it. And so I chose, in my head, I always knew that I didn't want to give up, even though sometimes I did want to, and sometimes I actually did. But deep down in my subconscious mind, I always knew that I couldn't let this thing take me out. And but with that being said, I'm human. I went through my phases, my emotions, my own thing, my own wrong mindset, my own stinking thinking. And it wasn't until, I got into my late 30s, late 20s, early 30s, where I just really got sick and tired of being sick and tired, man. I come from a 20-year corporate America background, again, because I thought that's the only thing I'd be good at doing was a desk job. And I have nothing against that, but it's just for me, I thought that was the only thing I'd be able to do because it's minimal
Yeah.
mobility. You're sitting down all the time anyhow, and you're just talking. And I was like, okay, well, I can talk, forever. So why not do that? So I did that, but I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I say that because I knew that there was more that I could be doing than just what I was doing in corporate America. Like I wasn't really, my passion was always to like encourage and inspire, motivate people to move forward because I've moved forward with the challenges that I've been given in life. And I knew that other people out there were struggling and going through challenges as well. And I wanted to help them to develop that mindset on how to be able to get over those humps in life and not just stay parked. And so once I determined that, I said, you know what? I was always focusing on the things that I couldn't do, focusing on the things that I didn't have. And it really took me to start focusing on the things that I can do and the things that I do have. And that was a defining moment in my life. And that's when I said, okay, enough is enough. I know that you want to learn more, do more, and become more. What do you need to do to get there? And so I just Googled and YouTubed, a couple of things,
Yeah.
motivational speaking and, I'm trying to figure out what I can do to, provide for my family and generate an income by just using my voice, right? And not have to move a lot of body parts. And I said, hey, let me look into motivational speaking. I've always, motivated all my friends and family anyhow. Let me see if I can get paid doing this thing. So I Googled it, came across several speakers, but one that really resonated with me, who today is currently my coach, my mentor, my friend, my spiritual father, the great Les Brown,
Yeah.
who, for those of you who don't know who he is that are listening, I definitely and strongly urge you to Google him or YouTube him, just like I did, because it changed my life. He's one of the world's top motivational speakers that ever walked the planet. And at one time probably was the number one. He's 75 years old today, still rocking and rolling, still traveling the world, still kicking life's butt, still overcoming the odds and still doing his thing at the ripe age of 75 years old. The man is unstoppable. So, just the story of me meeting him and how that all came about is amazing. I wrote about it in great detail in my book because I wanted to show people like what it takes and what can happen when you show up for life and you start going after the things that you want. And so, I met Les Brown. He coached me and mentored me, like I said, and that was 4 years ago. And the day that I met him was in December of 2015. And he called me the very next day after I met him, and we've been connected ever since. I went on tour with him last year and just been living a great life. It really changed my life, man. But it all started because, I've always been afraid to jump, but I made a decision to jump afraid. And when I did that, man, I'm telling you, things started to fall in place. Things started to get into alignment. I started meeting cool people like you, Nate, and other people like Les and just his circle of influence. And I've been speaking professionally for 4 years, ever since I met him. But I've been doing it full time now for 2 years. And I'm telling you, the journey has been incredible, man.
That's an incredible story. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And so, think of somebody in your situation. You talked about it a little bit, right? Being human and probably throwing a pity party for yourself every now and then and here and there and being in and not the right place from a mindset standpoint, but being able to make that shift. How is it like? Are there a lot of others that come to you, similar situations that are like, man, how did you do it? And like, because I could see how, the mind is so powerful, right? Especially like the battle inside of our own heads with that, just that self-talk of like, man, you're not worthy. Who are you to think that you could do this? Like the only thing you can do is a desk job, right? All of that, like, you should just, like, why you, why me, right? And then to be able to shift that to essentially kind of flip a switch and decide like no more. How powerful is that when you're reaching out, you're going out and you're doing the speaking tours, you're working with Les Brown, man, like he's the godfather of motivational speakers, right? He is on the Mount Rushmore, like you said, and to go from where you were at to like, that story of where you are today. How powerful is that when you're speaking to others that are in similar situations?
Man, it's amazing, brother. And that's one of the reasons why I do what I'm doing, is because, to get the feedback afterward, just first of all, just speaking on a stage in front of thousands of people, my first speaking, my first big speaking engagement was on the stage with Les Brown for the company that he was on tour with, called the Get Motivated Seminars. The first day I met him, the first time I saw him speak was on that tour, and I didn't get to meet him. I saw him speak, but I didn't get to meet him. But I met the CEO of that company, who wound up coming up to me and said, "Hey, listen, I heard that you're an up-and-coming speaker." And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Well, we're on tour right now. I live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Miami area, and they were in Fort Lauderdale." And he said, "Hey, well, our next stop is going to be next week in West Palm Beach. If you're able to make it, I'll give you 10 minutes to show me what you got." Wow. And man, I was blown away. And that next week, I showed up and spoke in front of 3,500 people. And it was one of the most exhilarating, like, I can't even explain it, but if I could, it would sound like a movie introduction, like exhilarating, breathtaking.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Absolutely. It was like one of those type of moments. Yeah. And, just the feedback of people coming up to me afterwards and just letting me know how my story has impacted them, and my struggles and my challenges may or may not be the same, but the things that I've gone through and overcome have encouraged and inspired them to keep moving forward. That, man, but that right there is that's what I love. That's what fires me up. That's what I do it for, is because I know how I felt when I was stuck, and how I felt when I had that mindset of not being able to do anything great and just living paycheck to paycheck. I know how that felt. And I know that there's other people that are out there that feel like that. And if I can help them to get unstuck and not feel like that anymore, or develop a new feeling for themselves and a new thought process and mindset, and if I can help them do that, then that's going to get them on the track to becoming a better version of themselves. And man, that's what I live for, brother.
Oh, that's incredible, man. I love it. What, talk about, like, for anyone that's listening, because we all have these thoughts, how, Les Brown, someone like that can be out here, and you're like, here I am here. Why would anyone like that want to work with me? How could I ever call someone like that a friend? Like, how could I get into someone's world like that? And obviously you were able to do that, and it doesn't just happen by chance, like being intentional, having belief that you could create that for yourself. For others that are sitting there and thinking, like, man, yeah, you could do it, but I can't. And, I know you mentioned, you talk about it in detail in your book, maybe even reference the book and talk about that a little bit more. And, whether it's Les Brown or it's something else, right? That's just a great example, I think, of being able to, like, know that there's something in your world that you really want, and then going after it. It's not guaranteed that it's going to happen, but there's, like, steps that can be taken to make that happen.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And this is one of the stories I love to share as well, because it truly is a powerful story. And it's like one of those things, like you said, it didn't happen by chance. But just, to try to make it as short as possible, just for your listeners, because it's a phenomenal story. And I talk about it in great detail in the book. Actually, the book is called "Don't Let Your Struggle Become Your Standard: How to Be Indispensable Even When the Odds Are Stacked Against You." And so I saw he was going to be in Fort Lauderdale. Like I said, he was on tour with this company, and he was in Fort Lauderdale. It was a free event. It was in December of 2015. And I didn't have any, like I said, I come from corporate America. I ran out of all my PTO, which is paid time off or vacation time, for those that may not know. So I didn't have any more vacation time. And I had to make an executive decision, like, hey, am I going to take this time off? It was right before Christmas. My son's birthday's at the end of December. So it's like, are you going to be sacrificing? So that means I would have had to take the day unpaid, which at the end of the day, I wound up doing it. So did my wife. We both didn't have any more vacation time. So we took the day off unpaid. So that's like 2 days worth of pay.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we went to the event. I met the guy, the CEO. He told me to come back the next week. And he said, yeah, I gave you 10 minutes to show me what you got. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then after we said yes, my wife and I are thinking to ourselves, like, wait, now we have to take another day unpaid to both.
Oh, man.
And it's in the same pay period.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So it's like
Wow.
4 days. It's like 4 days of no, unpaid,
Yeah, that's
no
almost a
money.
week's worth, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. So it was like, oh man, what are we gonna do? But I was like, man, this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Those are the opportunities that don't always come around a second time. So we were like, hey, you know what? If this is what we want to do, this is my dream. We're gonna go. So we called out of work again the second week, and that's when I spoke in front of the 3,500 people. But at that point, I was like, man, I know for sure I'm gonna meet Les this time because now I have backstage access, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna meet him this time for sure. So, man, you know how some of these speakers, they literally get there right when it's time for them to speak.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he was done, I told my wife, I was like, hey, listen, I want to go back out front. Let's go back out front because I want to watch him speak and do his thing because I'm always inspired by him. And so we sat down, and when he was done, I said, hey, listen, I'm going to run backstage so I can catch up to him and give him my speaker kit. So long and behold, I go backstage. I'm like, hey, where's Les? Where's Les? He was like, oh, he just left. I'm like, what do you mean he just left? He just got off the stage.
Yeah.
They was like, yeah, but he jumped into the car and left. He had another engagement to go to. Man, I was so disappointed. I was so heartbroken. I was like, man, I didn't meet him the first time. Like you said, Nate,
Yeah.
I didn't meet him the first time. I didn't meet him the second time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, I missed my opportunity again. So a friend of mine who's also a speaker was speaking down at the Miami Dolphin Stadium for a huge event. And he was like, hey, bro, I have 2 extra tickets if you and your wife want to come and check it out and support. And I was like, man, I was a little depressed. So I was like, man, I'll try and make it, man. I'm up here in West Palm Beach, which is that's like an hour, maybe hour and some change difference with traffic.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'm up here in West Palm Beach. I don't know if I can make it, man, but I'll try my best, man. I'll try to be there. And he was like, all right, bro. And guess what? I was like, what? He was like, guess who's speaking here? I was like, who? He was like, Les Brown. I was like, oh, man. I was like, hey, listen, man, I'll be there. Cut me in. So, man, I flew from West Palm Beach all the way down to Miami, got to the event, and that's where I met Les Brown. I was able to meet him. We made eye contact. He saw me. I saw him. And, I mean, I stick out kind of like a sore thumb because I'm the only guy in a wheelchair dressed up in a suit looking nice and, smiling. So, obviously, people are going to recognize me. And so we made eye contact. He came up to me. I was like, hey, man, you don't even understand. I've been chasing you for 2 weeks through 3 different counties trying to get a hold of you, man. And I was like, I just spoke on the same stage you spoke at in West Palm. He was like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, man. The owner, he gave me 10 minutes to show me what he got. He was like, oh, man, and I missed it. I was like, yeah, man, and I missed you too. But anyhow, I said, hey, man, I have my speaker package. Can I give it to you? Can I shake your hand? Can I get a hug? Can I take a picture?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, sure, man. So he gave me a hug. We took a picture. I gave him my information. And he said, is your information, is your contact information in here? I said, listen, Les, everything you need to get a hold of me is in there. My phone number, my cell number, my business number, my website, my references, like everything, social media, you can get in contact with me. He was like, all right, brother. That was on a Wednesday in December. Thursday, I go back to work, business as usual. I get a phone call. I'm thinking of somebody that I was networking with who gave my business card to. And as soon as I picked up the phone and said hello and I heard the other person, I knew it was him, man, because he just had one of those distinct voices.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, man, it's Les Brown. I almost fell out of my wheelchair, bro. I was like super excited, man.
I believe it.
Yeah. And we had about a 45-minute conversation, and that was all she wrote, man. We stayed in touch ever since. And then a month later, he invited me to one of his trainings as his guest. And then less than a year later, I was speaking on the same stage with him. Like, he called me out from the crowd. He was like, hey, he's one of my mentees. I'm training him. We're going to be traveling all over the world. And he brought me on stage. That was, again, at the same Get Motivated event that I met him on not even a year earlier, that he was still on tour with them the following year. He brought me in. I spoke for about 11, 12 minutes on stage with him. And man, it was just, again, it was amazing. It was life-changing experience. And like you said, man, one of the things that doesn't happen to everyone, but the point of the whole story is that if you have a dream and you have a vision and you have goals and you want your life to look a certain way, man, you have to develop this, the power of persistence and perseverance. And you know that very well, Nate, with what you do with your races and all the things that you're involved with. The power of persistence and perseverance, man, you have to keep at it. You have to keep going, because you'll never know. And I talk about this in my book. It's actually, this story is in my book. Chapter 7 is called The Power of Showing Up. Like, when you show up, and it's not only showing up, you have to be ready, because I could have showed up
Right.
to that event and I could have not had my speaker kit and not had my business card or anything like that. And I would have
Yep.
been unprepared, and I could have possibly missed an opportunity. But it's not only showing up, but it's being prepared when you show up.
Yeah.
And it's how you show up. And because I was able to do those things, and like Nate said, I had to take the day off unpaid. We did it again the second week. It was Christmas, my kid's birthday, and it was like I had to make a decision. Like, is it worth me, not getting paid, potentially, not being able to give my kid the birthday party that he wanted, to go and chase my dreams? And I chose to chase my dreams. That may sound a little selfish, but at the end of the day, it's brought me to where I am today. And
Yeah,
my kid has
absolutely.
had plenty of amazing birthdays ever since then.
I believe
So
it.
it's like
Yeah.
it was worth that one moment of sacrifice, for me to be able to live the life that I want to live.
Yeah, and that's a big piece of it, right? Like to go and whatever it is that you want in life. Sometimes there are some sacrifices that must be made, and the work has to be done to get that thing, right? It shouldn't be at the expense or at the cost of those that are closest to you, but yeah, it's like there will be some sacrifices along the way, and I love it. The power of showing up. I gotta get a copy of your book. I gotta sweet talk you into sending me a copy of that thing so I can check it out.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, man. Hey, I love it. This has been great. What are one or two things that you could leave with the listeners that they could actually take and disrupt their mindset and help them to move forward in life?
Yeah, man. So just like I titled the book, man, don't let your struggle become your standard. I think that a lot of us, we experience a situation or a struggle or something, and we just we settle for what
Yeah.
we settle for what happens in life. And if I would have let life happen to me, then I wouldn't be here on this podcast with you, Nate, and being able to share with your listeners. So it's a matter of, life is going to happen regardless whether you want it to or not, but you get to decide how you want it to happen, right? Most
Yeah.
of the time. Like sometimes, and I don't want that statement to get misconstrued, because sometimes there's things that are going to happen that we didn't ask for, right? Like
Yeah.
what happened to me, I was born like this. I didn't ask for that. But I'm talking about the part of life that you do have control over, and that
Mm-hmm.
you do have the capability of developing that mindset to say, I want this type of life, and I know it's going to take for me to do X, Y, Z to get there. How do I get there? Is not only by X, Y, Z, because you're going to learn other things along the way, but what does it look like and what is it going to take for me to get there? What type of mindset am I going to have to develop? What type of attitude am I going to have to carry? What type of character and integrity am I going to need to develop along the way so that I can be that person that I want to be in the future? And so it just takes a matter of developing that mindset. And again, every time you go through a challenge or a situation, you're developing mindset. You're developing mental toughness. You're developing mental resilience by you moving forward and overcoming that situation. Now, if you settle and stay stuck, then you won't learn anything, but you'll only learn how to settle every single time something happens. But if you learn how to push yourself a little more, if you learn how to take that situation and turn it into a positive and figure out new and creative ways to get things done, like I had to do when my body started giving up on me. I promise you, I can almost guarantee you that you'll start to see things shift and change in your life, and you'll start to live the life that you've always dreamed of.
Love it, man. Appreciate that. That's so important. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
What are a few ways that we can find out more about you, your books, where you're speaking, just everything about you and what's going on for you?
Yeah, man, absolutely. They can follow me. They can go to joseinspires360.com. That's they can literally find everything about me, my products, where I'm speaking, my books, my podcast as well. I have my own podcast, and that I have. It's called the I Won't Stop Until I Win podcast. I'd love for you to check that out and even leave a review. And also go to my man Nate's podcast as well if you're listening, and go and leave him a 5-star review and drop a comment, because that helps us. That helps us podcasters go to the next level as well. And we can't do it on our own. We need your guys' help. So we definitely appreciate you hitting both of us up and doing that for us. But as far as the book, man, they can order it on any platform, that's out there that sells books. But if they want a signed signature personalized with my John Hancock on it, they can go to my website as well. They're there. I have the physical book, audio book, different coaching packages. What's really cool too is that I have this coming up in January. I don't know when this is going to be dropped, but if it's after January, they can still sign up as well. But I have a new mental toughness mastermind that I'm going to be starting in January as well. And I have them every so often. So you can check that out. And I also have a book writing masterclass where I hold your hand and walk you through going from A to Z on how to write a book, how to become a bestseller. I am a bestseller as well. I didn't mention that earlier, but how to become a bestseller, some marketing strategies and things of that nature that you can do so you can become a published author as well, best-selling author, and let the world know what your story looks like, sounds like, and feels like, just like Nate and I have done. So you can check that out as well on our website.
Awesome, man. I love it. And we'll get that all linked up, and I'm going to get myself a signed copy. I know that. So appreciate you being here, brother. Thank you so much. And God bless. Have a great day, man.
Thank you, man. You do the same. God bless you and your listeners as well. And again, I don't know when you're going to drop this, but
I'll try and get it out before January. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Happy holidays, brother.
Absolutely. All right, bro.
All right, man.